We have seen rules, laws, conventions made for protecting the environment. But sadly, the condition of our environment remains the same. For implementation that is truly meaningful and sustainable, the youth can play a vital role. Hello everyone, my name is Bianca Pabotoy and welcome to our Peaceful Classroom. Our Peaceful Classroom is a dedicated space where parents, teachers, and other professionals come together to promote positivity and peace in the lives of children and teens. For this episode, we will be looking at ways where students and other young people can contribute to caring for our common home. Engaging youth in protecting the environment not only influences the change in youth behaviors and attitude, but possibly influence their parents, relatives, and families as well. But how do you get the youth to take action when environmental conservation is such a broad subject with many complex issues day in and day out? For many of us, global warming and climate change are problems that seem too big to face on our own, and so many leave it to government officials, legislators, advocacy groups to deal with the catastrophic effects of environmental degradation. Our protagonist today is Dr. Carmela Sanchez Arreola, or Mela to those who know her. She has a PhD in Family Studies at Miriam College, and she is also a licensed guidance counselor and has been in the field of education for more than 25 years. Whether an administrator, grade level coordinator, club moderator, guidance counselor, teacher, or mother, Dr. Mela always brings in the love for pets as her passion. She has been certified as a child play psychotherapist where she incorporates animals and pets in therapy practice. Outside work, Dr. Mela enjoys organizing events and giving talks to students, teachers, and parents on appreciating not only pets, but growing more in tune with the environment through playing sports and traveling. She is married to a horse doctor, has 2 children, and a myriad of pets like parrots, snakes, gerbils, dogs, and fish. Everyone, give it up for Doc Mela.
Happy 2021, everyone. Hello, my name is Mela Arreola, and today I would like to share this talk module for students entitled A Healthy Environment, A Healthy Life. I think it is just but fitting to start the new year right by focusing on our health. But I guess it would be good to reflect on the year that passed, 2020, the year that seems very unforgettable, that everyone seemed to want to forget and to let pass so quickly. I remember before the COVID-19 pandemic, which happened in March, my family, composed of my husband and my 2 teenage children, ages 16 and 20, would always enjoy going outdoors for camping, traveling, and sports. And I do remember on sunny Sundays, we would wake up so very early because of our deep love for animals, particularly the birds. And we would join a group of free flight parrot enthusiasts in Inarawan, Antipolo. And there in the open space, parrots of different sizes, small, medium, large, would fly around, and then they go back to their owners on the very same spot where they were released. It's always been an exhilarating experience for me to be in the midst of nature. But sadly, due to the ongoing pandemic and community quarantine, we are not able to go out. After months of lockdown, quarantine fatigue has taken a toll on our well being, more specifically on our environmental wellness. And for me, I fear that I might be already experiencing what we call NDD, which is also known as nature deficit disorder. Now, NDD is a term coined in 2005, which argues that all of us, most especially children, since we spend so much time indoors, would have the tendency to have these feelings of alienation from nature, and thus making us very vulnerable to feelings of negative moods, not just feelings, but experiences of negative moods and reduced attention span. And reflecting back, when we would confine in our rooms, we are forced to sit down for many hours. I currently with a work from home setup, while my children glued to their laptops during online classes, and occasionally would be doing video or playing video games to relax. For fear of getting the dreaded virus, we try never to set foot outside our homes, and only on occasions to buy our necessities, such as going to the groceries or the wet market, and also my husband going to work on an on-call basis. So staying at home for a longer period of time allowed me to reflect and understand how our natural, physical, and social environment affect our health and well-being. Now, prior to this worldwide health crisis, we were already aware of the catastrophic effects of global warming and climate change. Examples would be the flooding and the wildfires that we have been experiencing in the past years. And in 2020, that's last year, we can recall two very devastating wildfires that happened in California and in Australia. The impact of cities becoming more industrialized has led to the worsening condition of the air, water, and land due to pollution. It has not also helped that the growing density of people living in the urban dwellings has adopted a disposable or throwaway lifestyle for convenience. Throwing a piece of single-use plastic bag or wrappers may seem harmless, but about 50% of 300 million tons of plastic being produced every year, of which nearly 8 million tons of plastic dumped into the oceans. And that was reported by Plastic Foundation last year. And as a consequence, this plastic, which ends up in our ocean, does not only cause pollution, but causes marine animals to get trapped in the trash or die due to ingested chemical toxins. So these toxins have the potential to also end up in the food that we eat. See, so our individual actions, no matter how small, can either contribute to the restoration of our planet or add to the already harmful and unnecessary human-generated trash found everywhere. Now, since we know that our environment has a major impact on our well-being, we must give our students the opportunities to assess, to evaluate, and rethink which parts of our modern fast-paced life is truly essential. And that is one thing that we need to do during this time of being isolated and in quarantine. We must go back to the essentials. And when our students are mindful of the need to change our habits on a bigger scale, then the positive changes as an effect is indeed possible, not just for the present, but for the long-term effects. Okay? So I know, though considered a period of uncertainty, anxiety, and confusion, the COVID-19 pandemic has indirectly helped reduce air pollution, perhaps even save more lives in the process. How? Well, land, sea, and air travel has been greatly reduced. We also know that industrial plants have closed. Now, air quality improvement benefited a lot of areas such as New York City, with the reported carbon monoxide levels halved. Now, in China, nitrogen oxygen levels were over a third lower than they were last year. So, Science Alert noted in 2020, that's last year, the significantly higher number of saved lives. That is 4,000 children under 5 and 73,000 adults over the age of 70 in China. So that would translate to more than the current global death toll from the virus itself. Now, given a short time, the impact of strict quarantine, isolation, and the shift in behavior has led to the rehabilitation of our planet. Examples would be sightings of wildlife in the city and fish returning in the canals of Venice that have once cleared the said location. For our part, we may not be aware of it, but using the computer and phone to get our study and work done has helped reduce our ecological footprint. Telecommuting has lowered miles per transportation run by clean energy such as Microsoft, Adobe, and Google as technology providers. Okay, so since the environment has become inextricably linked to our wellness during the COVID-19 crisis, now how do we make the positive changes stay? How do we make good decisions and let keep our fears from getting in the way in caring for our planet, ourselves, and each other? I know it is tough to connect with nature at this time, but there are many ways to bring back nature into our lives. And here are some tips, easy tips that I'd like to offer for us to do for our environmental health while staying at home. Okay? So the first tip would be to reconnect back with nature. You know, staying on home quarantine does not mean that we are trapped inside our houses. When the weather permits, I go on leisurely walks with my dogs outside our neighborhood. Recently, my son has rediscovered the joy of biking, of course, donning a face mask. Interacting with animals and natural sceneries can heighten our emotions, like being excited, such that it can induce behavioral and physiological changes in our human mind and bodies, resulting at times in inexplicable healing phenomena. Now, going outdoors to get some fresh air and some sunshine can help boost our immune system, and that's why it's very important. What they say, we get vitamin D from being exposed in the sun. Paying attention to the green colors of the plants and trees, smelling the fragrance of sweet smelling flowers, and enjoying the chirping of the birds in the sky are mindfulness exercises practiced outdoors. Now, by grounding ourselves with an awareness of our senses, our happy, feel good hormones are activated that help combat and lessen the feelings of stress, fear, and anxiety of uncertainties brought about by this pandemic. In Israel, they found a cure to fight the blues of the pandemic by hugging trees outside since they know they're not allowed to hug their families and friends. You see, given this time of isolation, they found comfort with this alternative while practicing social distancing. Now, for those who live in high-rise condominiums, having small pocket gardens and taking care of small potted plants like cacti and hanging air plants can contribute to making themselves feel relaxed. So we have now a lot of plantitas and plantitos. And if the situation conveys that it is still not possible to go outside, listening to sounds of nature on YouTube or Spotify, or even using nature as wallpaper in computers may help us to stay environment attuned. Now, after a long, tiring day of home and work routine, it would also be a welcome change to watch fishes swim in the aquarium. Okay, so this has provided a calming effect in an experiment done with patients while having a dental procedure done on them. Okay, so how do we explain this? There is a theory called biophilia hypothesis, which it means basically love of nature, which says that we humans have an innate tendency to affiliate or to want to become close with nature. And so there are also evidences to prove that having pet animals in the home has helped many combat loneliness, stress, and anxiety during this time of pandemic. So allow me to share with you some of these evidences. Okay, so before we proceed to the next part, let me now show you some pictures, and I'd like to ask if you can relate with each one. So the first one is for dog lovers or dog owners out there. The next picture is for cat lovers or cat owners out there. Now for the third picture, do you all agree with me that the family of today in the new normal looks like this? Okay, so you can actually see the bond that is very much in place between pet animals and the owners, because pet animals are now considered part of our families. And to talk about the benefits of having pet animals during this time of pandemic, let me just share with you some studies. Okay. So the first study was conducted between March to May of 2020 of about 4,105 females living alone in the city. And these respondents reported that pets help them maintain a regular schedule, cope with uncertainty, be compassionate towards themselves, and find purpose in their lives. Pet animals benefited by getting more walks and play, while humans got the social support that they needed. But concerns such as availability of food, medicine, and vet care were also raised by the respondents amidst the pandemic. Okay? Now, in another study, published in October 2020, the Child and Adolescent Social Work Journal reported that adolescents with higher attachment to dogs were more likely to provide online support to others. Okay? And also, pets reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. Okay? Pets also add real joy and unconditional love. Pets increase opportunities to exercise, get outside, and socialize. So when we go out, we do know that pet animals are often the topic of conversation, or sometimes would be the opener for conversations. Okay? Now, pets also provide valuable companionship, just like this picture. Now, these pictures or these evidences lead us to the question, what is it about this unique relationship that we have, humans, with our pet animals that allow us to experience all these wonderful benefits? Okay? So the answer is found in the human animal bond experience. Okay, so according to the American Veterinary Medical Association, human animal bond is defined to be a mutually beneficial and dynamic relationship between people and animals, influenced by behaviors essential to the health and well-being of both. This includes, but is not limited to, the emotional, psychological, and physical interactions of people, other animals, and the environment. Okay? So now we move on to the next tip that I would like to share with you, and that is to adopt a sustainable lifestyle. Okay? Having extra time at home allowed me to declutter and organize my room. I have gladly set aside old clothes and things that have no use and have placed them in boxes for donation deployment. Posts on social media show how people have started planting a personal herb garden or volunteering in their community vegetable garden to minimize buying outside. These examples are simple and environmentally friendly alternatives to adopt a sustainable lifestyle. Now, when we teach our students, our children, how to adopt a sustainable lifestyle, then we can also demonstrate our commitment to a healthy planet. To make activities fun and creative for our students during the lockdown, we can come up with hashtag challenges such as day-to-day posting of purchasing products with zero waste, or hashtag recycling, hashtag zero waste, and nominate friends or people they know in conserving water and energy. Another campaign is avoiding littering and advocating for minimal or no packaging, like hashtag bring your own container, hashtag break free from plastic, hashtag choose to refuse, or hashtag say no to disposables. When businesses and commercial ads lure the young to have the buy and throw mentality, let us encourage them to be active advocates for a greener earth. Reusing coffee cups, water bottles, and bringing their own shopping bags may be a habit they can pass on and start as a new trend with their families, friends, and communities they belong to. More than that, they will imbibe the stewardship role as caretakers of our planet, not just for their future, but also importantly, for the future of their children's children. Okay? So I hope you learned a lot from today's session. Thank you very much for listening.
We can all agree with Dr. Mela Arreola that young people play an active role in protecting the environment and influencing others to adapt to a lifestyle that cares for Mother Nature. Certainly, the youth are resilient and able to change practices that affect nature, most especially if the reasons for doing so are clear and justified. They can make their homes, schools, youth organizations more environmentally friendly by encouraging others to recycle, conserve water and electricity, and yes, care for animals as we share a common home with them. Up next, we have an 11-year-old boy sharing his ideas on how to become a young environmentalist. Very interesting. Luis Gabriel Galang is a grade 6 student from the Ateneo de Manila grade school. When he was 10 years old, he created a project for his birthday called Let's Unite in Saving the Philippines, or LuisPH. The aim of LuisPH is to raise awareness of environmental issues and inspire very young people and adults to take action in taking care of Mother Nature through practices that encourage proper waste disposal, water conservation, recycling, saying no to plastics, and caring for plants and animals, among others. Does your child have a question about the environment? Well, let's ask Luis.
Hi guys, my name is Luis and welcome to our peaceful classroom. Today I'm going to talk about the environment, so let's get into that now. Hey guys, my name is Luis and you ask me, what is LuisPH? So LuisPH is Let's Unite in Saving the Philippines. And so when I created this project, I was 10 years old. So me and my mom had this idea where we could make a bags and so for other people. Where can you find pollution? Okay, let me tell you. So it's land, water, and air. Land is the trash that you put on. So imagine you're done drinking your McDo and you're like, okay, let me just throw this, and then you throw it on the ground, which is sad. Okay, and water, some people pee and poop, and then it goes into the sea. And then when you throw your trash there, it still creates more pollution. And then in the air is when people burn the trash. What is wrong with this photo? Let's ask. Okay, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to answer this question. Well, you see, this kid is throwing the trash into the sea, which is bad. Do you see the problem? If he threw the trash into the sea multiple times now, this way, the sea creatures, he must have killed at least more than one sea creature. Which what happened to this whale? He swallowed a lot of debris which made him to die. Why is water pollution bad for humans? I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. Do you see the problem? If the fish eat the plastic, all of the chemicals will go into the fish and you will not be able to wash it. So when someone films a mukbang thing, they're gonna have a bad stomach and it will really hurt. Why should people dispose the garbage properly? I'll give you 5 seconds to answer this question now. Do you see the problem? When you throw the trash into onto the sewers, it will clog up the sewer, and if there's a typhoon, the water will not be able to be absorbed by the sewer because it is clogged. So this is my grandparents' house, filmed on news for some reason, which was very cool. And then when they went to the house, hit the heel, if you looked at your heel, it was submerged with the water. Will trash go away when you burn them? I'll give you 5 seconds to answer this. The answer is no. Technically it is not away from you because it will just go to the ozone layer and make a giant hole. Like this. In 2014, it made a big hole. 2015, it just even got bigger. And in 2016, it looks like an oval, but it's bigger pa. 2017, it looks like a speech bubble. Then 2018, it looks like a pear. And 2019, since we got to know that there was something happening with the air, we stopped doing that and it got smaller. So every time we do that, the hole will get smaller and smaller. What can happen to humans when it gets too hot? Well, when it gets too hot, people can get heat stroke, which is very bad and might hurt animals and humans. What will happen to polar bears when ice melt? I'll give you 5 seconds. When you see this, do you see the problem? When they're just chilling lang, when no one when everyone threw the trash in the trash can, they were nice and having a good time. And then when people started to throw the trash on land, water, and air, started to burn the trash, look what happened to him. He has less land now, and if he tries to swim, he can try swim, but if there's none land, he might drown. By the way, polar bears can swim for a long time to find their prey. What can we do to save the environment? Well, it's very easy. So, me and my friends had this idea where if I got a plastic bag, we would replace it with a reusable bag. It is better because you do not have to throw it away. So he asked me, what will you do with the plastic bags after? Well, I will put them, diba I have other trash, right? I will put the other trash and put it into the plastic bag. And the garbage truck knows how to separate it, right? So, listen to people like Greta Thunberg. Well, the reason why I made this was because she inspired me to do the same. And she says this, you are failing us, we are all Greta. Well, you are failing us because the big people are just throwing it away. So we're encouraging you to throw it in the reusable thing. 3. Give your own talk about taking care of the environment. Yes, I really like this because I've done this 4 times and people seem to get inspired and then they throw the trash in the recycling bin to whoever I talk to. And I did another one about dengue, and in dengue, people die from it. Even if there's a vaccine, there is still a chance they can get it. Even my brother's friend died of dengue, and my friend got dengue 2 times, which is very unfortunate. 4. Spend time with your pets. So this is Trooper, and he's very cute. This is Pretzel. She's the mother. This is Bailey. She's a daughter, and then Sydney's the blind daughter, which is very unfortunate. So when I come to Trooper, he is always wanting me to play with him, so I do that. Pretzel just wants to be fed, like Sydney and Pretzel, and Bailey pala. And when my mom tries to feed them, they just jump on her. She's like, why? And then my brother has to help her when it's feeding. So when I come out and try feed them, they just sit down because you know why? Because they know that I'm an environmentalist and they say thank you so much. So they have to sit down. 5. Check out your plants. So my mom bought this enormous garden and it's very beautiful. And you know why it's beautiful? Because my mom plants it. And you have to check out your plants every time because if it goes dry, it will go, you have to cut it. Well, and then my mom got this from my Lola, which I call Mama. Well, my Mama has a lot of plants because of her father. Because my great grandfather had a lot of plants, and in heaven right now he's 120 years old. So when my Mama went to look at the plants and one of them went dry, she would go, anong nangyari? So she tries to fix them up because that's her big memory of him. 6. Conserve water when you wash the dishes. Yes, because sometimes whenever I look at some people, they wash the dishes and then when they're scrubbing it lang, the water's still on. It's like you're wasting the water. So you know how many times people do that? A lot of them actually. Well, when they wash it, they leave it on, right? When they leave it on, they waste a lot of water, which wastes water for the dogs and others. And whenever you brush your teeth, it happens too. Whenever you're brushing your teeth lang, you just water lang. And then when you're taking a shower, and then that's water for you to take a shower na already. 7. Schedule outdoor time but to wear a mask. Yes. So me, my mom, and my brother will go out biking, but we would have our mask on to buy something. 8. Follow your dad when he tells you to eat more fruits. Yes, I am very sad that when the cows get slaughtered by butcher. It's very sad to see. So I eat more fruits for my midnight snack. And did you know that when animals poop, it will add more pollution, which is bad. When you share vegetables, this is my brother. He shared it with the indigenous people from Mindanao, and they're studying here because so they can have a better education. So when you have fruit vegetables that you could spare, you could give it to a Grab, a Land Rover or something. Put it in give it to them, and then they will ship it to the indigenous people or others, so they may be more healthy. And also, they do not like canned goods at all. So this is my brother Leo. Follows FB page at the Leo Project. Then help people in need. So this is Typhoon Leo. This is Diba. Me and my brother did this collab where we put a bunch of bags and then put hygiene kits. So when we put the hygiene kits, we did it carefully, and we checked if we missed anything, so that the other people may stay healthy and smile a lot. You may follow me at Let's Unite and Save the Philippines at Facebook. And thank you for listening to my talk.
Wow, congratulations, Luis, for being a very young environmentalist. You know, this goes to show that young or old, we can all do our share in spreading awareness for the protection of the environment. Surely, the polar bears will be happy if people can do something about climate change, which has, greatly affected their homes in the Arctic Circle. And being a lover of the outdoors as well, and being born and raised in an island province here in Bohol in Visayas, let me share with you my own thoughts and lessons I have learned on marine conservation. I am Bianca Pabotoy. I am a Women, Peace and Security Project Officer at the Center for Peace Education, Miriam College. I do a lot of capacity building training with women in conflict-affected areas on peace building and conflict transformation. But aside from that, and on my free time, I'm actually a volunteer at Save Philippine Seas. It's a marine conservation organization, and we do a lot of marine education, training. And so I want to share with you some of the lessons I've learned. I'm going to take you on a trip, and we're going to go on a dive on the Philippine seas. So now let's talk about marine conservation. Let's go on a deep dive on the Philippine seas, which is more than just a body of water. So marine conservation, well, conservation in definition, is a careful preservation and protection of something. So when you talk about marine conservation in specific, it's the planned management of a natural resource, so our oceans or seas, to prevent exploitation, destruction, or neglect. First of all, what do you know about the Philippines? Well, it's an archipelago, it's tropical, and it's rich. But exactly how rich is the Philippines? So the Philippines is a mega biodiversity center of the world. That means we have so much variation among living organisms from all sources, including but not limited to terrestrial, marine, and aquatic ecosystems. It is insular in nature, where the sea is the dominating influence of climate. Equable, meaning we have roughly equal temperatures throughout the year. We have diverse microhabitats and mountain areas with high endemism rates. Endemisms, or endemic species, would mean species native to or restricted and only found in the Philippines. So Philippines is one of the 17 mega-diverse countries in the world. And according to the Global Peace Index in 2019, the Philippines ranks first among 9 countries, which are all in Asia, that are most vulnerable to multiple climate hazards such as typhoons, floods, tsunamis, droughts, and rising sea levels. A reality we often experience almost normal now, so normalized now. And the Philippines is one of the 25 biodiversity hotspots in the world. And according to the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, to qualify as a biodiversity hotspot, you must have 1. Contain at least 1,500 species avascular plants found nowhere else on Earth, so endemic species, and 2, unfortunately, have lost at least 70% of its primary native vegetation. So that's the reality of the Philippines since we're part of the 25 biodiversity hotspots. Now, from buhay isla to binubuhay ang isla, how are livelihoods and human activity affecting the sea? And what is the connection of all of this? So first, fisheries. The Philippines ranked 11 among the top fish-producing countries in the world in 2003. That's 18 years ago, with production of already 2.63 million tons of fish. And when we say fisheries, this would comprise marine fisheries, inland fisheries, and aquaculture. And it's time now to fish the music. We're overfishing our seas. Why? Because roughly 90% of the fish in our oceans have already been fished by big companies that are engaged in illegal and destructive fishing practices that not only endanger the marine environment and other sea creatures, but also endanger thousands of fish workers in the region. So with climate change affecting the world's oceans, more extreme and unpredictable weather has shortened the fishing season for small-scale fisherfolk who are entirely dependent on the sea for their livelihood. Next. Tourism. Tourism in 2018 was responsible for 5.4 million jobs, contributing to around 2.2 trillion to the country's gross domestic product. And the Philippines tourism industry has generated around 245 billion pesos in receipts from international visitors alone during the first 6 months of 2019. Now, with tourism comes wildlife tourism. So wildlife tourism refers to the observation and interaction with local animals and plant life in their natural habitats. So this is quite an attraction in the Philippines. It's the whale shark, and these are highly mobile species, and according to the IUCN, are included in the list of endangered species. There are only about 1,000 identified whale sharks worldwide. And so, whale sharks in the Philippines actually swim to Taiwan, Malaysia, and Indonesia. They migrate seasonally between areas as this allows for nutrient exchange. And as endangered species, whale shark needs all the reproductive opportunities it can get. If the whale sharks do not migrate to their deep habitats or the next feeding area, which are possibly, mating or pupping grounds, they will be unable to perform their ecological roles in these ecosystems. This is a photo from Oslo in Cebu. So what they're actually doing is they're actually feeding whale sharks so they stay in that area, thus fueling their tourism industry. Whale shark feeding is an ecological trap. It's provisioning or providing food that will alter the ecological roles and needs of these species, so specifically the whale sharks. And in doing this, we're actually conditioning whale sharks to approach boats that can also make them more susceptible to injuries, as you can see in the photo, and poaching. So whale shark viewing at Oslo is facilitated by hand feeding the animals with shrimp. So positive association with boats may also cause negative impacts when they move to other areas because, again, they are migrating species where there are no guidelines and trained personnel to conduct and monitor human interactions, as what happens in neighboring countries. And third, this beautiful reef is the Verde Island Passage. It's dubbed as the center of global marine biodiversity. Because surprise, the center of global marine biodiversity is actually the Philippines. And it has one of the largest concentrations of marine life in the world. It is located in Batangas, situated at the center of the Coral Triangle between the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, and is the top global priority for conservation. So a 3-day underwater exploration produced photos of sachets, some showing visible signs of being with the corals for a very long time. As you can see, this is a magic sinigang mix, which is not a normal thing you should see in a coral reef. The Philippines is actually the top nations dumping plastic into seas. In 2015, the country generated 2.7 million tons of plastic garbage, and around 521 tons ended up in the ocean. That's from the Philippines alone. So now it's also time for us to break from plastic. There needs to be accountability from producers and consumers alike, because unfortunately we can no longer recycle our way out of this crisis. The plastic problem began in boardrooms of top multinational companies when they decided to dump products packed in single-use, non-recyclable plastic in places where there is no infrastructure to manage them. Again, any livelihood or socio-economic activity should be sustainable, and in order for it to be equitable, it should be pursued without negatively impacting wildlife species and the integrity of the environment to which it belongs. Because again, about 1.2 million jobs in the fishing, tourism, and food sectors would be directly affected by poor oceans management. Making waves and making change. What can we do? First of all, we need to educate. We need to educate ourselves on the many issues surrounding our seas, environment, and conservation as a whole. So first of all, you have to know your policies. Educate yourself on environmental laws, handbooks, primers, and roadmaps available. If you click on this link, or if you type this link in your web browser, savephilippinseas.org/policy, you will actually find your one-stop shop of all Republic Acts, primers and handbooks, and roadmaps related to marine conservation in the country. Why is this important? Because it's very important for us to also check on how the government is progressing in terms of its commitments towards marine conservation. And in turn, you also know what's currently being done right now legally on conservation efforts. So there you go. Next, learn about other kinds of materials available. For example, the Laudato Si on Care for Our Common Home is an encyclical letter by Pope Francis, where he highlighted not one but two things related to the environment. So the urgent problem of environmental destruction and how this has offered a historic challenge to people of faith and all others of goodwill. So it's good to know, especially if you're doing campaigns or talking to people where our religious leaders are of strong influence, Catholic religious leaders specifically. So the Laudato Si has two appeals, which is the urgent challenge to protect our common home, and that includes the concern to bring the whole human family together to seek a sustainable and integral development. And it offers a new dialogue about how we are shaping the future of our planet. We need a conservation which includes everyone, since in this environmental challenge we are undergoing and its human roots concern and affect all of us. According to Pope Francis, many efforts to seek concrete solutions to the environmental crisis have provided ineffective not only because of powerful opposition, but also because of a more general lack of interest, which ranges from denial of the problem to indifference, nonchalant resignation, or even blind confidence in technical solutions. Next, to see is to believe. So we need to raise your and your community's awareness by using available infographics, resources, and content on complex marine issues and concepts, because understandably, marine conservation can get a lot technical and it can be very intimidating. But if you go to savephilippinseas.org/infographics, there are actually a lot of free infographics you can use and share and disseminate within your communities. So for example, the truth about algal bloom and the tourism bloom. If you've remembered a few years back, there were a lot of algae in Boracay. So it's explained here in a very, very accessible manner. Plastics, why feeding whale shark should stop. Philippine reflections, how our coral reefs have, the state of the Philippine reflections, the state of the Philippines coral reefs. Screening your sunscreen, which is very interesting. If you buy sunscreen, make sure it doesn't have the chemical oxybenzone, because this actually bleaches corals. So again, these are great resources to communicate highly scientific concepts in a very practical and accessible way. Next, do a social media deep dive. Follow social media accounts, watch free documentaries, listen to podcasts about marine conservation, because there are a lot. And if you follow Save Philippine Seas on Instagram, they actually curate a lot of this. They have like a COVID-19 reusers manual, busting myths on reusables, since I think everyone's been scared of bringing their own containers when they go out and buy food, for example. So it's all there. There again, plastics in the pandemic. And it's curated a lot. Books, if you like Queer Eye, for example, it's on Netflix, great show, and that episode was really good. A lot on beauty as well. So breaking myths and facts on beauty products and the environment. So it's all there. You can also host a watch party. So we have Chasing Coral on Netflix, discussing the world's coral reefs, and Philippine Seas, it's on YouTube. So very accessible and all for free. And of course, follow accounts that promote conservation, or follow accounts of conservationists and marine conservation groups. So if you follow Marine Wildlife Watch Philippines, we have a lot of resources on proper wildlife encounters, such as how far a boat or diver or snorkeler should be if you dive with, for example, a shark or a whale shark. Ballena and Lamave conduct research on marine mammals and creatures in the Philippines, such as the migration of humpback whales in the Babuyan corridor, which is actually happening this season. It's at the beginning of the year. Blue whales here in Bohol, where I am right now. Manta rays in Ticao Island in Bicol. So it's all there. You'll be amazed by how rich and how many visitors in terms of marine species we have, aside from our usual tourists. And if you want campaigns on local and global environmental issues, Greenpeace, Oceana, and WWF are the way to go. And follow Ana Oposa. She's the founder of Save Philippine Seas, and she's a very cool conservationist, which you can learn a lot. And she posts a lot on her Instagram stories on practical ways how to be a conservationist, and the daily life of a young millennial conservationist. So it's there. And Anna actually, through her, the first shark sanctuary in the Philippines was enforced in Malapascua. So just a fun fact, this is a thresher shark, and thresher, that's what you are. In Monad Shoal, this is a coastal seamount 8 kilometers from Malapascua in Cebu. This is where you can dive, and it's the only dive site in the world so far where thresher sharks can be seen almost every day due to their relationship with cleaner wrasses. So it's kind of like a car wash for these sharks in this water. And through Anna, this has become a shark sanctuary, meaning these sharks could no longer be fished. So it's amazing, pretty cool. And so we educate, because once we educate ourselves, we are able to educate communities on the values of protecting our marine resources. Next, we engage with governments, businesses, schools, NGOs, and individuals. Write letters to leaders. So we need to stop global whining and start to speak up. Again, if you go to that link, you can find templates on different issues if you want to write letters about them. So commending eco-friendly events, proposals to ban single-use plastics. You can use it freely, and it's all there. It's a good starting point. And when you see a good opportunity for improvement, or you want to commend a sustainable initiative, don't let it go unnoticed, and let them know. So reach out. And emphasis on commend, because please also let businesses or government offices or schools, anyone know that if they're doing a good job. So we also want to promote some good and positive vibes, waves. We want to start positive waves also through writing letters to leaders. Next, citizen toolkits. So channel your emotion to action. So beyond beach cleanups, explore other conservation initiatives you can do in your city from the comfort of your homes. So if you click on City Pizza Park /toolkits, you'll find like straw wars, plastic battle, a lot of initiatives, and each toolkit has a presentation deck, letter templates, and printable materials like posters and standees. You can use these to reach out to business establishments, schools, again, government offices, national or local government agencies, and individuals. So it's all there and you can freely explore. And lastly, we have to empower citizens to take action for conservation and restoration. So first, how do we do that? We walk our talk. First, carry a reusable bag when you shop because saving the world will never go out of style. Bring your own bottle because plastic water bottles don't biodegrade. They photodegrade, meaning they produce fragments that absorb toxins that pollutes our waterways, contaminates our soil, and sicken animals, which we then eat. So it comes back to us actually. Eliminate food waste. Why? When you throw away food that could be eaten, it rots in a landfill and creates harmful greenhouse gases. And all the energy, water, and time that went into farming the food and transporting it from farm to fork will then be wasted too. Lastly, if you can, refuse single use and buy things in larger packaging or in bulk, and develop the habit of bringing your own containers. Next, straw free for a happier sea. So over 500 million straws are produced every single day, and the vast majority end up in our oceans, contributing to over 1 million seabirds and marine mammals ingesting plastic. So when you can, just gulp your iced coffee or your juice, or bring your own container, which is even better. That's the best practice you can do. Cut the straps. So now in the time of COVID, cut the straps of your disposable face mask as it actually entangles birds, seabirds specifically. If you can, ask where your seafood is from. So when, it's a good practice to think about how your food ended on your plate. Again, it helps you eliminate food waste also. And because there's a lot of illegal and destructive fishing methods again that's being conducted in the country. So I guess if you're able to ask your sellers how do they fish their fish, I think it's a good way to be informed also. And of course, we're not completely ruling out swimming with whale sharks here. You can, and actually it's even better when you support ethical wildlife encounters. So this photo here is in Donsol in Sorsogon. And the good thing in Donsol is like the whale sharks are in its natural environment. They're not fed. Boats try not to crowd the animals, and they are monitored by the local government. So the difference between Oslob and Donsol is like of a petting zoo and going on a safari. So please, let's choose to go on a safari instead. And lastly, when you go snorkeling after this pandemic and you happen to be at the beach, please do not step on the corals. So, corals are animals, contrary to popular belief. Corals are not rocks. Because they do not, they are animals because they do not make their own food as plants do. And corals are sessile, which means that they permanently attach themselves to the ocean floor, essentially taking root like most plants do. So a coral is made of tiny polyps, and most structures that we call corals are in fact made of hundreds, thousands of tiny coral creatures, again called polyps. So again, you walk your talk, and please again, don't step on corals because you wouldn't step on your dog, right? And we have to keep in mind that our behaviors and habits affect our environment every day. So make waves and seize the day. Thank you. In this episode, we realize that the environment is an essential part of our own survival. It is our responsibility to help people understand how important it is to care for our common home. So, what will be your own actions to support the campaign for the protection of Mother Earth? What practices at home will you stop, continue, or change so that we can conserve our natural resources? Let me end this episode with a quote from Pope John Paul II. He says, "The earth will not continue to offer its harvest except with faithful stewardship." We cannot say we love the land and then take steps to destroy it for use by future generations. That's all for today. This has been your friend, Bianca Pabotoy. See you again in our sacred space, our peaceful classrooms.